Minister just to respond with some closing thoughts. If anyone has any comments or questions for any of our speakers. I know it's early, so if any of you haven't had coffee and mentally warming up in time for the plenary session, I won't hold it against you. But I just want a quick sense if anyone would like to follow up from any of that this morning. So if you do, raise your hand. If you're going to scratch your head, I won't pick on you. And if I don't see anything in the room, I'm going to... gentleman over there. And
Yes,
can I just ask you to share your name?
Andrei Klimov, Russian Senator, Committee of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation Council. You named, I mean, some of our foreign friends named some problems, and they talk about necessity of flexibility of our legislation. As one of parliamentarians of this country, I'd like to ask you kindly to name maybe some concrete problems in our legislation, which will give us opportunity to do something practically. Because usually from time to time we have this information about necessity of changing, and we try to do our homework ourselves. But of course we need more concrete ideas what to do and how to do. So maybe some of our friends from China or from Japan can explain us briefly what we are speaking about now. Thank you very much.
Mr. Maida, you want to respond?
Thank you, Senator. Let me raise a couple of the examples, more concrete example. One is a legal system of the Federal Concession Act. In this Federal Concession Act, now it's restrict the PPP in terms of the modality via BTO, Bill Transfer and Operation. And a more typical constraint of this Federal Concession Act is a limitation on the put-in collateral on the properties which the concessionaires owns. This is a major obstacle to make the project finance smoothly. And secondly, I understand that now the big improvement already made in 2014 in terms of the amendment in the law, the commercial law. But still, there are some limitations on the collateral, put collateral on the bank account. This is still some problems in terms of the practicing the project funds. Thank you.
Mr. Wang, can I come to you for a Chinese perspective?
From
the standpoint of Chinese businessmen, to invest in Far East, and we have interest in that, but they're also concerned that the lack of legal guarantees of investment protection. Russia can Russia guarantee by its law for investments in Far East, and also in terms of migration policies, we need some liberalization there, and also in terms of taxing, just like in southern Chinese regions, the way we did it. I think that should be helpful. That's for that's to strengthen investments in Far East. You need to provide more guarantees for investment protection. Secondly, expand policies in the area of migration so that Chinese investors would come and could live in Far East. That has some meaning. It has a lot of importance for Russia.
Thanks very much. Can I ask the gentleman there just to come in with a question?
非常感谢主持人给我发言的机会啊！我是来自中国。
Thank you. I came from China. I represent the Ministry of Trade. I am a member of Entrepreneurs Union. This is my first time to Vladivostok. I have a very good impression of the place and I'm honored to participate in the forum. I would like to share a few things. First of all, the forum accelerates the development of the economy of Far East. And I think that in the beginning of reforms, the changing model in the area of attracting investments, we could do it faster. There are many opportunities in Vladivostok over the 2 days. Considering the functions of the city in the area of services, Vladivostok can become a center in many ways. China has many opportunities there. And secondly, the development of Vladivostok for Chinese businesses, especially private companies. There's a lot of interest there, and you should create conditions for exchange, exchange between people for such companies. I came from Nankin on the coast, and in that region we have accumulated a lot of experience of development in terms of openness and implementation of reforms, and Vladivostok has a lot of such opportunities. Development of China and achievement of the Chinese dream, successful expansion of production, and experience of Chinese reforms, all of that can be helpful and used in Vladivostok. I think that in the future, an organization will be created, not a government organization, but non-government organizations will be involved.
Thank you for that. Just very briefly, going to take a question from just across the room, comment from across the room, and again, if you can just tell us your name, and then I'm going to call on the minister just to sum up, because I know he's got a lot of material to work with.
好，我来自于中国产业海外发展协会，在中国的协会的职能主要是帮助中国的企业走出去，对外投资。所以今天非常高兴来参加这个会。那么我也想在这里谈一个观点。实际上，我们在从中国来到海参崴之前
So we really hope that for that reason that right now our coming to Vladivostok should help us develop Chinese investments, and we are happy that Vladivostok has become a free port. The greatest particularity of our development in terms of attracting external capitals is the use of special economic zones, and the Chinese experience demonstrates that the use of special economic zones is a very effective way of to develop a country economically. Vladivostok Freeport, that project has been already approved, so we would like to clarify Which specific conditions will be used to develop this free port? So when we say it's a free port and it's functioning, it's tax-free, it's too vague, it's not sufficiently specific. So we would like to get the details. What about its transport capacity? And also you have issues of imports, customs clearing, how do you bring in goods, how you take them out, how do you find a balance between bringing in and taking the goods out. So these are the issues we are very interested in. Very much interested in. And we hope that in the future that will become a basis for our specific joint projects in Vladivostok. And we hope that going forward in China they will pay greater attention to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all our contributions. And I'm just going to ask now, I don't think he can respond in detail to each of them since we've had so many, but I'm going to ask Minister Galushka just to offer some closing thoughts on this session. Minister.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the organizers. I would like to thank Adrian for great moderation during the session. I would like to try to respond to all these questions and to comment. Let me point out one thing. Our today's morning session is just the beginning of our intensive, deliberate 3-day discussion. And the issues today will be discussed with a great focus and a great detail throughout the forum, including our plenary sessions, which will take place tomorrow. We talked quite a bit today about opportunities and problems in Asia-Pacific region, and as Alexander Idrisov and Dasuki Kadegava mentioned, they spoke about it in detail. I would like to bring your attention to the fact that today in Far East, the Russian government very actively and consistently shapes a new environment for development. And in our opinion, it will make a great contribution to the development of Asia-Pacific as a whole. This area of development that we create here is our response to those many challenges and problems that you all mentioned. I would like us not to focus too much on these problems, because life goes on. And the problems do not stop this fact. And what Mr. Katagawa said about prospects of Asia-Pacific, I think it's not an overly optimistic perspective. I think it's a realistic perspective. China will have by 2020 not 700 million people that will be in middle class, but even if we have only 500 million or even 400 million compared to 100 million today, that's a great prospect for Asia-Pacific. So these prospects and opportunities are even greater, and they're much greater than problems. This is what life is like, and life will go on, and we will see development, and I'm very confident of this. Secondly, with regard to what was said by Mr. Rotoba, chairperson, when, in terms of following international standards in our attempts to create this area of development, we not only follow international standards, but we focus on best practices, best international practices, and those practices are going ahead of these standards. When we developed our law on priority development areas, we studied those practices in Asia-Pacific, and that was the basis for the development of the law. Moreover, we want to change We want to be flexible and respond promptly to implement best practices, to develop those best practices ourselves, and to quickly change the legislation. And speaking of what Mr. Wang said, Wang Mingfu, from the Chinese McKinsey, so to speak, on the potential that you see here, I would like to note that in the same manner we see this potential. We know the experience of Singapore and Hong Kong. We studied it in detail. And for that reason, we created a special law on free port of Vladivostok. It's a separate piece of legislation. Besides that, we develop a gambling zone in Primorsky region. We built a theater of ballet and opera in Primorsky region, and Freeport law, any foreign citizen that comes here will get an 8-day visa at border control to learn about culture of this region, to go to the gambling zone or whatever. It doesn't matter where they come from, China, Japan, or any other country. So that opportunity is already provided by the law, and it comes into force on December the 12th this year. Moreover, we see a great potential for transport and logics, and the law talks about that as well. Next to this place where we are right now, we have large economies. We see problems in northwestern provinces of China, and the Chinese leadership talks about those problems. The transport costs are too high in these regions of China, and transport corridors from east of China, we can see that new corridors can cut those transport costs greatly. So it's mutual. It can be for mutual benefit. Chinese companies can cut their transportation costs, and we can generate some income for ourselves. So we provided tax benefits, and we established flexible administrative regime. There is a supervisory committee that is guided by the Vice Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, and other officials are involved in the process, so it's highly supervised and supported administratively. Mr. Varichev asked how far can we go in these initiatives. We can go as far as it is needed if we want to develop Russia's Far East, and we don't want to stop and become content with what we have achieved. We're here to speak from the first person, to present the opportunities developed over the recent years. All these opportunities that have become part of our governmental policy, they have become law. And we want to get feedback from you, and we want to improve this system based on this dialogue. I would like to note, to respond to Mr. Varichev's question, law on priority development areas, that legislation has been fully developed. Law on free port of Vladivostok has been already adopted. It comes into force in December, and 3 months are provided.
Партнерам. Хочу отметить, что государственные деньги из бюджета на обустройство инфраструктуры территории опережающего развития выделены и уже сегодня расходуются на создание этой инфраструктуры. Правительство Российской Федерации официально учредило первые 9 запустила механизм инфраструктурного поддержки инвестиционных проектов. И первые 6 таких проектов. И на Восточном экономическом форуме Мы постарались
在
максимально наглядно всё это представить.
东方经济论文
Я очень надеюсь, что за 3 дня у вас будет возможность посетить ту выставку, которая подготовлена министерством. Каждая территория опережающего развития, свободный порт Владивосток, поддержка инвестиционных проектов – это отдельный стенд на форуме, где есть персональный сотрудник министерства, готовый ответить на все ваши вопросы и самым подробным образом рассказать о том, что мы делаем. Дальше. Господин Тадаси Маэта говорил о 2 бутылочных горлышках. Первая — пропускная способность наших восточных железнодорожных магистралей БАМа и Транссиба. Правительство уже выделяет 562 миллиарда рублей на модернизацию БАМа и Транссиба. Пропускная способность этих магистралей вырастет на 66 миллионов тонн грузов в год. Относительно вашего желания инвестировать в портовую инфраструктуру, смею вас лично заверить, мы приветствуем ваши намерения по инвестированию в порт Находка и порт Восточный. Со своей стороны готовы оказывать все необходимое содействие вашим проектам. Далее вы говорили о сложностях правового пространства и недостаточной гибкости. Я надеюсь, у вас будет возможность познакомиться с теми законами, которые мы уже приняли. Они гибкие, и мы готовы гибко их менять, исходя из интересов развития Дальнего Востока, интересов дела. Могу привести пример. У нас одна из поправок, которую мы уже подготовили, в закон о свободном порте, она касается возможности прямого участия глобальных международных клиник, медицинских клиник на территории свободного порта Владивосток, который облегчает, упрощает этот процесс. Более того, прецедентно у нас принят уже в России закон о международном медицинском кластере в городе Москва. Он принят 15 июля. Мы те позитивные нормы просто хотим имплементировать сейчас в свободный порт Владивосток. Россия двигается в этом направлении, в целом и на Дальнем Востоке в частности. То, что говорил господин Коджи Оми о развитии человеческого капитала и потенциале нашего научно-технического сотрудничества.
Speaking of the potential, the human potential, so we think we do have this potential, and the measures we take, today's event is taking place in the Far Eastern Federal University. And I think you'll have an opportunity to get familiarized with our university. It's one of the locomotives of the development of scientific and technical cooperation. On top of that, I would like to note that the Russian government, for Far East, it established a special structure, an agency for the development of human capital. It's the agency that will be fully focused on issues of the development of human capital in Far East. Sorry, there was a problem with interpretation equipment for a couple of minutes. Really apologize for that. And lately, a few questions were asked with the help of our moderator about guarantees for investors in priority development areas, and in the law of Freeport of Vladivostok, any control check, any work with supervisory bodies, with investors, should be approved with the Ministry for the Development of Economic Development of Far East. I head this ministry, and we have the powers by the law to do this.
I would like to provide you with my personal assurance that we will be scrutinizing all these requests for checks. And just recently, less than 2 years ago, we adopted the practice of checking small and medium enterprises only with approval of the prosecutor's office. And the number of these requests for checkups have dramatically gone down. So I believe that in this case we will see the same effect. Another legal initiative ensuring protection of investors is this. The managing company, which is involved into this priority development areas projects, is the one point of contact for our investors. By law, this management company has been established by the government of the Russian Federation, and it is fully owned by the government of Russian Federation, and it has a right to sue organizations protecting investors' interests in those cases when investors run into problems with governmental bodies. And if that happens, it is the governmental company which will be representing this investor in court. And that's how it is in the law now. And we will pay attention to your proposal regarding the laws on concession. And I would like also to note the fact that we have just recently passed a new law on private-state partnerships. We passed it on the 15th of July, and it adds to the legal framework established by the law on concessions. And one of our sessions will be devoted to the new opportunities which were currently tapped into by these new legal initiatives. And the final thing I would like to point out, in our view, the best type of economic policy is to keep economy aside of politics. And Ministry for Development of the Far Eastern region is the organization which is responsible for developing economy of the Far East. And we are fully responsible and directly responsible for attracting foreign investments to the Far East. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. And can I ask everyone here just to express their thanks, arigato, spasibo, sheshe, to all of our speakers for this session. So thanks to all of you. And now for the plenary, 11 o'clock. See you there.
А теперь мы с вами встретимся на пленарном заседании в 11 часов.